Truth.
Yes.
Actually, I'm an emu.
I'm trying to think what last round was.
Didn't you just...
No, but like
good.
like did you mean like last round you judged me or like last round like?
I don't think he judged us. I don't remember him on the channel.
It's okay.
I don't think
Sorry.
so done.
I'm really tired and I have a cold.
Oh, that is no excuse. Bullshit.
I'm good.
Alright, everyone ready?
No. Actually, you can start after the I really full the
Okay. Everyone good? First, qualified immunity as a principle is meant to shield government officials, specific individuals. Cornell. Qualified immunity shields officials from harassment, distraction, liability. Qualified immunity only applies against government officials, individual frequently in case involved police officers. And therefore, the question of limiting qualified immunity therefore applies relative to individuals. And qualified immunity as a principle applies to public officials because the unique conditions they face, like the act has to prove there's no distinction between public officials, like police officers and ordinary citizens. Then, in some sense, justifies the principle of qualified immunity is inapplicable. Therefore, the reasonable affirmation is to prove that there's no morally relevant distinction between public officials and ordinary people. And that is to prove that there is. To the maximum 8 point topic, the question of topic is whether conditions police officers uniquely face as official word qualified immunity key affairs with education because of the basis of clash argumentation resident B point even if I lose my burden often still for instance no distinction between who has half qualified immunity so it would necessitate either everyone has limiting officers unique essentially no one should have the which proves the resolution true now prefer additionally one ground in mind interpretation in mind forces the central question whether or not prefer qualified immunity applies to some other burdens for the athlete would defend limited qualified immunity all advantage areas non-unique inside and defend no often qualified immunity negative justice you can offense key fairness education says largely even distribution half offense laws best quality debate to the burden forces the question of resolution how norms govern individuals and whether they're morally relevant, i.e. whether the negative precedent for what it means to be a police officer uniquely justifies doctrine and qualified immunity. Debate about different framings of the evaluating norms. The only way to understand context, constraints, obligation, Railroad Anderson. This transformation involves interpretation integrated with transformation made laws becoming a gun of loan which are rendering inherently illegible to iteration of every offense here because the transformation secondly have calculated interpretation involves deciding between calculated have absolute knowledge which outcomes of material you choice a decision which alterity and impulsive have the responsibility to transformation in terms of introduce organization hypothetical comparison in worlds undermine context specific iterations norms practices like beyond an objective and said unstable. 3 power presents itself in context relation individuals testing the way politics describes the difference between individuals a prior question of adopting any higher political agenda especially in the context of policing rancière power laws one to retard everything policing everything political nothing is a police order because relationship between work for the thing is political nothing political itself the political is when reconfigures relationship that determines the community 4 interpretation the after the negative must concede the burden as contentious AC debate on it they must link off and back to the afterward violation this is preemptive potential violation includes reading theory on burden or reading separate mechanisms evaluating of offense function higher level of burden about to clarify you can still read it frames on just under the burden just has link prefer one affirming is hard 8.674 times 2 b1 that the acids extend often sweat and 1 air 2 red and negatives only extend 1 to the ABC keep next this check next times 2 the stability layer debate forcing debate 1 layer front line negative spread me out means that burden has the unfair as possible because the heart is firm 2 stress you allowing me a negative question of the burden undermines about AC please have the restarts 1 air because the twinner don't restart having no arcs to leverage AC stress key to forming coherent battle story 3 critical education ABC forces a stable stasis point critical education allows the negative the burden to AC my argument is not denied that there are other things critically important I making genealogy rather those are considered to remove the 6 AC you can still read the circuit to confirm also other methods the reason for the burden of crushing ADC negatives contest about ability burden at something 1 air theory minus theory legitimate otherwise a negative infinitely visa no way to check 1 air method here and drop the 1 air theory time crunch 1 air insufficient win both your and substaff and no ability check if using linear infinite harm contention I defend the general restriction in the United States ultimately qualified immunity the burden reinterprets what it means to affirm the restriction but if you want me I can spec no link to rather than no link implementation arguments because I don't defend those but they are relevant to affirming negating the topic but I'll still check in CX now part 1 is identity of categories so police officers are arbitrary the only morally relevant component in identity constantly changing Svetsky decided on a single drive assembly after the effects of subject of differentiated outcome in the missions in which unconscious insufficiency subjectivity subject to change ideal such the unconscious protective deconstructive make subjectivity transient of the irreducible self-identity becoming the ways of interaction 2 that for impacts with that 1 that affirms that means if we're becoming lines between individuals is imperceptible Brad Yodi 6 ethical behaviors transient which is subject of disappear and which flows up and some becoming imperceptible the human internal flow becoming the subject merging the frame of them the immersive becoming the method dissolution of the self of the problem becoming imperceptible no concept of being a non-being actively becoming beings change of self 2 universal ethics can take a realistic account of subjects development in context rather relation not stable is constantly developing part 2 legal indeterminacy police are endowed with the power by legal institutions but the power of those norms of institution predicated off of infinitely regressive there's a gap between law interpreted specific circumstances and the current situation law will provide guidance on any situation data 2 To be a just decision, the following will confirm the value stating an interpretation which like this, there must be conformed which is just a consistent conformity to decision which absolutely uniquely interpretation exists and will guarantee a moment in which we have the present decision. Impacts one that affirms the law establishes distinction between police and normal citizens and law indeterminate no jurisdiction of the questions establishing difference between intrinsic value. 2. Empirical functional law developing the moral principles governing laws ability set norms and state contingent functional obligation terminate. In the Hume, the course of nature may be an object in which attended difference of affects in which police make it understanding in which future general arguments make it probable only these arguments are found in which cause effect of affirming experience in which the supposition of future may be supposition probable evidently going in a circle. 3. Claiming government legitimacy of laws, restoring integrity institution fails to operate inherently for the laws, not something we trace shape it. Effectiveness, contingent, shifting condition takes out other political agenda. Part 3 is no unique right to qualified immunity. Qualified immunity disproportionately affects police officers. No justification they should uniquely have access to. Stand. 13. Ignorance of laws like super police and the shielded from the laws that violate people's ordinary person prosecution. Any subject to prosecution or police but shielded by qualified immunity survivors. Brutality, violent conflict with qualified immunity is in the case of police may do as they please declare the subject under qualified immunity officers face no recklessly. Government they declared as a right of which every person specific intrusion while ordinary person held responsible for negligent actions under B. 1 presume affirmative after to affirm defined by dictionary outcome to express the agreement of hold immediately affirm negative outcomes because they have held B. We intuitively assume statements to be true or false. If I told you if I told you am I negative, you'd assume the statement be true unless there's some evidence to prove otherwise. C point affirming is harder. That means that the round is an entire fight is better debating. 2. After it comes first and negative, the ability to go in there shell back to the after it's impossible to get the back there shell 2 arguments 2 and expose the strategic option kill half of defense will go in 1 shell after you sit down 1 argument 2 prefer structural wings about that first and negative because they apply to each round of the establishment communal norms basic competing interpretation also means there comes before 2 because they inherit every round on a particular topic. 3. Adopt a truth testing paradigm. 8.65 dictionaries define negates deny truth and affirm the sole judgment of resolution obligation. This always common usage abundantly clear that rules are verified. Always common usage is abundantly clear rules are verified. B.9 comparison between worlds requires proving statement. X world is more desirable than Y world, which means comparable to collapses. Truth testing. 3. We cannot recognize a property without realizing about which a thing of property true. The even a property joint property of truth. I smell violence and hence is true. I smell violence and nothing added file describing my property of truth.
Did you read everything?
Yep.
Okay, so you say that I cannot contest your burden, but I can establish a different framework under that burden. How would I do that?
So you can justify an ethical framework that will prove that there is a morally relevant distinction between.
So I can contextualize what it means for there to be a morally relevant distinction between persons, is what you're saying.
Let me think. Wait, can you give an example of that?
Do I have the right to define what it means to have a morally relevant distinction, to define what is morally relevant?
Well, the burden defines what is a morally relevant distinction.
So I cannot contest that? What can I contest?
Well, you can contest, if the conclusion of that framework is that there is no morally relevant distinction, there is a morally relevant distinction between police officers and citizens, you can read it.
Oh, okay. Cool.
It's
so where do you clarify what it means to have a morally relevant distinction between people?
So the argument in Cornell functionally says that the question of the resolution centers around whether or not individuals, or police officers uniquely should have the right to qualified immunity. That is what contextualizes it.
Wait, what? What does it mean to have a morally relevant distinction?
So if you justify that police officers or if you justify that...
Right, I get it, but what does it mean for someone to be different from someone else? What do I have to prove in order for the distinction to be morally relevant?
Well, that's what you would read another framework for to contextualize.
But does the AC read a framework that contextualizes
The AC reads several frameworks that...
Well, are you going to explain those frameworks to me in CX?
Sure. Which one do you want me to explain?
Any of them.
So Semetsky fundamentally says that the components of our identity are consistent of our interactions with
So all of your offense functions as ways to characterize what it means to have a morally relevant distinction? Is the argument?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay, cool. If I respond to presume AF, or if I respond to truth testing, does that violate ABC?
No. Well,
okay.
Yeah.
Yes or no?
It doesn't.
It does not violate ABC. So, truth testing is not part of your burden.
My burden independently would justify why proving a morally relevant distinction would affirm, right? But then also truth testing is just an additional framing mechanism.
So I can contest truth testing, yes?
Sure.
Okay, cool. Let's go to the AC spikes. What is the implication of all of the AC spikes, especially affirming is harder?
Affirming is harder. Wait, that's not an AC spike. That's in
Actually, why don't you just tell me the implication of the interps in the AC?
The only offensive interp in the AC is the one in the burden.
What is the implication of said interp?
The argument is that if you contest the burden, then you violate drop the debater.
Do you read drop the debater? Do you read RBIs, competing interps?
I read drop the debater.
Where is that?
It's in the voter underneath. After it says 1AR theory is legitimate, it also says drop the debater on 1AR theory.
Wait, this is not 1AR theory.
It would be extended as 1AR theory. Is theory in the 1AR.
Wait, so any theory that the AF reads comes before any theory the neg reads then, yes?
That is a spike in the underview, yeah.
Okay, cool, alrighty. Glad I clarified that. Let's go to truth testing. Explain to me the Frege, I don't know how to pronounce that word, argument.
Frege?
Yeah.
The argument is basically that proving that like one world is comparatively better than another world presupposes that you're doing a truth statement, i.e., it is true that X world is better than Y world.
Okay, starting point. One to before used, give me a minute to put it in a doc.
That means you have 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Sorry.
That's fine.
Gotta do some math. What's the order?
Sorry, give me a second. I can't multitask.
Yeah, you're good.
Okay. Okay, order is going to be overview to all the sketchy shit in the AC, util framework, disadd, turn dump, line by line.
Wait. Overview, util disadd?
No, overview, util framework,
Yeah.
disadd, turn dump, line by line.
Where should I flow the overview?
Separate piece of paper. There will be like cards and stuff in it.
Wait, so can you do that again?
Sorry, let me just save the doc. Okay. Overview that you should flow on a separate piece of paper, util framework, disadd, turn dump, and then AC substance. I would recommend flowing the turn dump and overview both on separate pieces of
I
paper.
was about to say, I'm about to put all these, like everything you just said, is going to be on a separate sheet of paper.
Yes.
Yeah.
That would be ideal.
Overview.
And then AC where?
I'll go top down.
Util.
Say top down.
I'll tell you when I move from the framework to the contention. Sorry, Nigel.
Alright. Sounds like fun.
Debating you always is, Mama. Alrighty. You good?
You are.
Oh, 1 sec.
Okay.
I'm ready.
Okay. Judges, ready? Is anyone not ready? First, minesweeper overview. 1. Arguments with absurd conclusions like the police and regular citizens have the exact same duties should be rejected. Humor. It is reasonable to assume that the way they appear some arguments are strong, but as a system will be rejected in case of logical based on intellectual appearances and conclusions. By assuming things the way they appear unless evidence is so drawn from appearances arises cast doubt on us. Even the argument of a skeptic is based on what seems to be the skeptic to be true. You will say logic first, but 1 logic is justified by more logic. That would be circular. Logic is just intuitive, and 2 I read conceptualize when it means to be logical. Thinking puppies is wrong, and no convoluted contrived reasoning could overcome that intuition. 2 no presumption triggers or permissibility or skep Ross. Neither implies that there is nothing that is valuable about either alternative. My reasons to give me no reason to give you the alternative has a weaker reason to affirm as opposed to this irrational option. I must deliberate as though the app is true. And the negative versus dependent competitive policy of offense defense is equity, fairness, and real education. That means ignore skepticism. This is just competing worlds. He said in CF that means that if I read competing worlds, that means that I do not like the ABC shell Nelson 8. These truths have saving model poses an absolute burden of truth. Negative legally and primarily make consistency to prove that morality is not existence. Strategies provide the net with infinite ground under competing worlds. Both debaters offer offensive reasons for forcing a parallel burden. So for second, it's an intuitive when people evaluate ethical claims. They consider the implications of the real world. Skip the Palmer evidence. Overview to these spikes allow the NR to respond to AC spikes. One, all words have semantically determined. I only know their meaning based on the context of their use. Second, only answer spikes after they're used in the one AR. To this stories whose storms the AC that are uneducational. They perform the clash from the bounty. We'll just go for drop spikes. Clash out ways. Debating is the core of debate. 3 destroys, 2 get the better. Debating 5 destroy 24 spikes with drop 1. I am clearly better at debating. And then someone can just only read spikes and accept drops. Now, group all the points for spikes that uniquely help the app. Those are bad. 1, class these spikes are justified in this instance and make it inevitable that 2 or 3 proliferate to the round. There's literally no other way to respond to this case. Skills top education, class controls intelligent people self-promote education to resolve building. You can never compare a 7% skew with percent math. We just don't know how much skew presumption covers with their sideways. Debates are irresolvable. Resolvability is the biggest impact back to fairness. Makes it non-arbitrary decision possible. The reciprocity. A, you vastly overcompensate. Your term makes it a nightmare for the neck and Chapman. Clearly, abuse of facts of ignorance. B, absurd things of ignorance. Make people unsympathetic to the housing in the long run. That's solvency and negating is harder. 1, turning up 7, 6 times. Skew with 1 AR. Spikes that ways. 80 whole 2 AR. Consider any slightly never kind of theory. NC turn, especially because you read spikes that are offensive in this mean theory's game over. It's what's inverse abuse, 2 all causality impact. Players are unfairly skewed towards staff. People just sex themselves out before round. Debaters like Ross by research so bad. People are just bad at astronaut. Now, please get first answer, set the term of the debate. I have to calculate my strategy. 4, you get last say. Judges more likely to decide on your issue because they'll remember and feel more persuaded by your arguments. 5, actual 10% more rounds at USC round 3 hours. Reasons your stats are up to date with current trends. Heard all of his arguments about why didn't actually get specific advantage. Next off, util framework. The standard is maximizing well-being under the app burden. What this means under the app burden is that we will only believe that police officers and the private individuals are the same thing if that would maximize utility, which means that we are using util to determine how we evaluate his burden. So I do not violate the ABC shell. 1, util police exclusive A is the easiest to understand. Most of NPC equals 1. B is from access to private sectors. J is largely influenced by weighing, which is unconstrained by resources. Education comes first. We have to maximize opportunities for people to join the activity before we debate about their experience with the activity. 2, equal division of ground. There are lots of that reaction. Always be usual ground on both sides. Most variables definitively feel one way or the other. 3 resolvability. Weighing under util is the easiest. You just compare numbers. No other framework allows for quantitative weight, and most of the frameworks are super unscaped about how to weigh. So the burden is on them to show that weighing under frameworks is easy. Cross-apply that intuitions are really good. This justifies the active util flops, the intuitive benefits of rule util snark. Habitual according to rules such as key promises, generally opportunity for the active util hearing. These rules are mere rules of thumb. She has no time for calculation. There's no consistency here. A man about to save a drowning person has no time to calculate. He knows it is almost always right to save a man, and in he goes. Next off, court clog this act. Courts are clogged which caused collapse ban in September 2013. Workload district courts and these impacts on ability to spend. As top principal cases increased by more than 70%. Older cases are clogging documents for small company contractors, delays, financial instability. Courts the linchpin of democracy. Judges must have manageable workloads. Litigation against police specifically is on the rise. That causes court clogging. Also, a reason why police are different from private individuals because litigation against them is on the rise. Rose in 05. Litigation from law enforcement is proliferated. Officers enforcement money spending frivolous suits. Federal police has exacerbated the situation. QI sought to be cases from going to trial. Jeffries attempt all their meetings goals to affect the administration. Summary judgment constitutional action. The court wants administration that is more sensitive to the need to resolve cases for trial. The Supreme Court relied to preclude the defendants in the burden of trial in weird cases. A reason for why we should act as though there is a distinction between the police and the regular citizens. And court collapses the federal judiciary overburden documents. Suspension can't keep place. OV 96. The hallmark of justice has been an opposition opinion of a judge. Won't office create a sample time for initiatives that able to meet this. The most important resource to the judge is to have federal judges read briefs. They are different to rely on clerks. And the wrong one will cause collapse. The ability system to tolerate proliferation, of course, proportional to the proliferation of judges is limited. Collapse cannot be postponed indefinitely. A highly functioning federal judiciary is necessary to prevent extinction. Effective separation of power solves unaccountable decisions to go to war. Adler 96. These structural free powers serve to determine the basic power, disguided policies, unaccountable behavior, the implications of yes, power have a greater need for accountability, selective judgment, the incomprehensible destruction of nuclear war, and extermination of human races, to demonstrate the need for joint participation in the decision to initiate war. Now let's go to the case. I'm going to read a bunch of terms. All these are reasons why police officers uniquely should be treated differently. 1, QI protects public safety. Rose in 05. The more time police spend a trial, the less federal children's use qualified to improve the deterrence of claims. Litigations generally resolve with their paper. Waste time and money. These that poses to general public injustice. You might should treat them differently because they have different obligations. They have to protect people. Ordinary citizens do not have that burden. 2, litigations actually skip that card. And qualified immunity protects society as a whole. The Supreme Court majority opinion delivered by Justice Powell. 82. Frequently run against innocent expensive litigation, diversion of official language, deterrence of able citizens from excessive political office, fear of being suitable, dampen the ardor of public officials, and discharge of their duties. Qualified immunity is substantial losses to be quickly terminated. Now let's go to the AC. Overview to his topic arguments. Util hijacks the internal link to these because there will always be more topic on util because that's how people make decisions in the real world. Cross-apply the intuitions argument. Evaluate intuitions are utilitarian. That's a reason for why this topic they will be util because people when people are writing about things they're going to write based on what they think is what they think is true. Now let's go to the ABC spike. A is the counterrotation. If the app justifies their burden, then the net does not have to concede that burden as conceptualizing the AC and debate underneath it. This is a function as an offensive counterinterpretation. I'm saying that the app of you reading this ABC shell was really bad. It put in limits clash because I cannot have to contest a framework. You put in this sensing norm, which you could just pick any random framework, then I would have to debate it. You could pick an absurd framework that would always an absurd burden that would always fear the app. That we can seem incredibly abusive. 3 key education the end, or you have the all fast to extend twice. There's no impact. It should take literally 10 seconds. It's your fault that you're not fast enough to extend correctly off the strategy argument. No, turn the strategy argument. You can see my strategy by picking an awful burden, just like you did in this round off the critical education argument. No, turn. You are preventing me from reading case because I cannot contest your burdens. Are probably a bad thing. You could say the N-word in round and get away with it because I'm not allowed to contest your burden. Now let's go to the contention level. Off the Semetsky argument. You say that our identity is constant change. That does not matter because we still have a practical identity. Yes, our human identity may be changed, but our practical identity is I'm a police officer, I'm a teacher. That is a constant thing because that is a job we have that you have to not justify why our human identity is more important. You say that the lines between individuals are imperceptible. Do you really think that is true? I'm pretty sure there's a line between me and Momo. Now, off the universal ethics, you still it's not a universal ethic. Who's looking at this specific situation and why it is bad off the quickly go to the underview. Off the app theory comes to reject me like this because I mean that the app can just be infinitely abusive and I will never be able to read theory. Obviously, you should evaluate the stream and link back to the voters. That's how theory works off the, and now quickly go back up to the contention. Sorry. Off the legal indeterminacy. No, that is absolutely false. The fact that in the status quo we can make legal decisions, true that there's not a lot of indeterminacy too. I know impact of legal indeterminacy. We can still exist outside of the legal system. It seems like people, the police officers and citizens are different people even outside of the legal system because they are protecting society, which is distinct from the courts.
Okay.
Yeah.
I can navigate.
Okay.
It is.
Yeah.
Look, I don't know how.
Sorry.
Okay. Laptops are good.
And heavy. Very, very heavy.
Alright, starting CS.
Okay, cool.
What are the justifications for comparative worlds?
So there's the card that I read in the Minesweeper overview. The argument basically is that the sheet statement is bad. It poses an absolute burden of proof that makes it really, really hard for the affirmative because I can just like read skep or something like that, which seems like a bad model.
Is that like an appeal to fairness?
It's an appeal to fairness and education. It seems like it would be a bad model of debate if like the negative can just read skep for 7 minutes.
Excellent. Next, core plug. This uniqueness is from 2013. Why is that the status quo?
I think that things happen in the legal system like relatively slowly. Like it's not like the economy where things change overnight. The legal system is a slow-moving process, so I think that uniqueness from 2013 still works.
Okay, on humor, what is the threshold for an unreasonable conclusion?
Just something that's not intuitive. We would just vote for
Something
whatever we
that's
think
not
is more intuitive.
What constitutes an intuition?
Right. So intuitions are moral beliefs that are universal. For example, equal treatment. Equal people deserve equal treatment.
Okay. So the contextualization of this argument is that if something goes against universal norms, then it should be rejected?
No, not universal norms, rather beliefs that everyone shares. Like, there are just some things that, like, every human will think are true.
How's that? What's the warrant to that claim?
That's the humor evidence, which explains why we should prefer... It warrants why we should prefer intuitions. Do you want me to explain the warrant? I'd be glad to.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so the warrant in the humor card is that when we are determining how to, like, evaluate logic, then we have to do that through intuitions. Like, we do not know that logic itself is good unless we use our intuitions. Like, Momo, how do you know that we should use reason or logic to evaluate things? You intuitively think that that is something that we should use. That's why people like Kant write books about logic. They can't use logic to justify logic itself. That would be silly. So they instead are using intuitions.
Okay, what does Ross say? Ross talks about nihilism, but...
No, not the kind of nihilism you were thinking about. Rather, the argument is just that we cannot claim that, like, either alternative is bad. We just have to look towards even a weak reason to suppose that something is true.
Okay. So, what's the reason why your shell is, like, offensive for you?
Right, so the argument was that by reading APC, you're creating a bad norm.
What's the text of the intern? Did you write down the text?
No, I didn't.
No.
Looking forward to that shell.
Well, I'm not giving away my strategy.
It's so secret.
Let's see. Maximizing well-being.
Yeah.
Cool. What's the terminal impact report club?
There's an extinction impact, and there are internal impacts about how we should probably have a judiciary that
What's
does
the
things.
extinction impact is what I meant.
There's the war impact that's contextualized by the last piece of evidence. That's like the author name. It is Adler.
Okay. What's the internal link to war?
So that's coming out of the Oakley evidence, which says that we do not have a high-functioning judiciary, and that's really bad, because that prevents unaccountable decisions to go to war.
Your standard text is maximizing well-being.
I wouldn't really say that's like a standard text. Rather, I think the standard text is my analytic explanation in the one NC about how we should just only believe that we should only treat police officers and ordinary citizens as different if it maximizes well-being.
Okay.
So I'm not contesting your verdict, I promise.
Wait, so you meet the interp in the app?
Yeah.
Okay. So how's the counter-interp relevant if you meet it?
Oh, it's a reason to vote you down.
But you meet it.
Yes, but the fact that you read the shell is a bad thing. You should not have read that shell in the first place, even if I met it.
Oh, yeah. I guess so.
If you're confused about that, you should read this really good article written by this smart guy named Singh.
I just keep looking over there just to see a dog.
I wish I was that good.
Okay, 44 seconds left. Let's see. I'm gonna send the speech talk. Or wait. Alright. I'm gonna send it right now.
Okay.
Let me save it so I can send it.
Probably a good idea.
So the order will be, let's see, this is going to be tricky. The order will be like the aff, and so it'll be like extensions of justifications for the aff. Then the aff contention, right? The in extending the contention, there will be cross-apps to the turns, right? It'll be this like humor overview stuff, but that stuff will also be implicit in the cross-apps. And then it'll be util.
Will you get to the dispatch? Or will that just be cross-ups?
That'll be like on. I'll get to this. I'll signpost. I'll do a very good job at signposting.
Okay.
But the way that you should like order your flows, if you like want them to be on top of each other, so it's easier to see, it should be the app, and then with the app it should be the turns. Then it should be this overview stuff like with humor, and like these like tricks, preempts, and then it's the decide and util. You can couple that together.
Let's say app or
The app itself. Yeah, proper. Alright. Is everyone good? Good? Huge screw up, Lavanya. You make a ton of arguments that kill the phrase education. There's no justification for why French education is a voter in the entirety of the round. There's no, you do not vote off 200 justifications for a voter because there's none in the AC and there's none in the NC. She does not explicitly say fairness is a voter or justify any independent voter, which means any of the theory arguments she presents in NC are irrelevant. Even so, there's some arguments in the app that take out theory first. Extent Anderson conceded, which is conceded. We should understand the way individuals relate to different norms, ways which the implication of this argument is that only the burden forces the question of how norms constantly change and iterate, which two implications. A1 justifies the burden because it forces it to this essential question. B1 takes out util and whole theory because theory tries to establish an objective norm, but that norm is constantly changing and constantly iterating. Same with util because util has the objective conception of what is a consequence. Now the theory into the first. I should not lose for reading the center, but I'll concede that you don't violate. That means that counterinterprets are relevant. Also, you shouldn't get an RBI because you shouldn't win for proving yourself there. Also, there's no justification for a fairness voter, so there's no reason why you should get this. Also, you can see the observation for why you have to prove why the burden itself is theoretically illegitimate, not the norm of the theory cell. That's the analytic underneath. You can see the ground standard for why my burden is good, which means my burden is theoretically justified. Now the offense, which is a very simple debate for you to evaluate. First, extending Semesky evidence. We are constantly becoming. She says that we have a practical identity. One, no internal warrant for why practical identity is good. Two, Semesky takes into account practical identity. It just says that the why practical identity is constituted by different relations within individuals, which are constantly changing. Then extend Derrida that objective norms can never guide to action. She says that in real world people pass policies, but you can see the observation under the Hume evidence under Derrida, which says that our empirical ability to pass policies is irrelevant, just as philosophical justifications. Hume also takes out util because it proves that the consequences are impossible to evaluate because it says that the conditions of the world will always constantly change. That means that util triggers presumption, which you can see it affirm. Extend presumption affirms because the statements are proven true than not. And there's no theoretical justification for why you should presume negative, i.e. from the negating is harder arguments because there's no fairness voter. Now on truth testing, you can see that truth testing is true even if you justify why comparative worlds is justified justifiably good. You can see that conceptually comparative worlds would bite down into the notion of truth testing. If you do not prove why this dissent scenario proves resolution false. Freed so extent freed that controls the internal link. You make these turns arguments, but the problem is that these turns are based on empirical. On the turn flow, she makes the turns, but the turns are based on empirical conditions. You can see Hume, which says that's irrelevant even, so you still can see the SAN 13 evidence that says that the use of qualified immunity is empirically not justified for police officers because it values them as more than other citizens. And also Derrida takes out these laws indeterminate. Now this fighting argument, this Hume argument makes absolute zero sense. It says that we presuppose there's some objective understanding of what the world understands, but obviously Semesky proves that there's no stable understanding of the intuition because our identity is constantly becoming. Also these two arguments just establish some notion of a rule for the debate. But you can see the Derrida argument for why rules are impossible to evaluate. Then the presumption argument makes no sense since this argument is textually specific to nihilism about the legitimacy of actually going for presumption in the first place. I'm still proving an obligation for you to affirm. Now on Nelson makes sense, and Nelson makes no sense since under you concede all the justifications for why conceptually comparative worlds would dominate truth testing. Now this all of your justifications for truth testing, util makes no sense. But you say it's more easier to understand. But Hume says that Hume takes that out. Hume also takes out the resolvability argument because it says it's impossible for us to understand consequences. Also, division of ground makes no sense. You can see why ground is internally as the F. Now the terminal impact of the death is good. The death is good. There's asymmetric pleasure of pain. Absence of pain is good. But our symmetrical relationship, the absence of pain and pleasure. Absence of pain is good, but their absence of pleasure is not bad. Which explanations happen? We think there's a duty of people in existence. There's no duty of happiness. Absence would not be bad. And you justify util in the hedonistic sense, which means this argument terminally means that that should be good under your framing. I didn't read Minotaur too.
Okay. And you read everything else?
Yep.
Ready. I had 204 left. Time starts now.
much work do you have on?
204. Why does util trigger permissibility? Because we can't evaluate consequences?
Hume, which was conceded. Derrida, functionally conceded. Also, there's not a lot of other arguments. So there's like the cross-out from Semetsky, like if identity is not stable, then there's no like contingent, like stable understanding of what like constitutes a good or bad
That's fine, I'm
consequence. There's like
I'm good.
also the Anderson stuff. So like the analytic under Anderson says like fiat makes no sense. So the dissent makes an appeal to fiat. That was a cross out for the 1 yard.
Alrighty.
Oh shit. Nigel.
Come back.
This is so much.
What's up?
This is like the fourth round I've seen him like walk out.
Yeah, where's his dog?
Still here.
Oh my god.
I can't believe you lost tabs on the dock.
It's underneath. Oh my god. That's like a little blanket and everything. Oh my god. I just find it really cute. I don't know.
So small.
I'm overreacting. As per Abby's reaction to the dog.
You're not going to Glenbrooks.
But if I can set up now, yeah, I probably can.
If you're not going to Glenbrooks, I'll send you everything I have.
Okay, I adore you.
That's impressive.
Oh no, I'm looking up.
Collar matches the blanket.
That's crazy.
He does this often.
He does. Where'd he go?
Probably bathroom. That's what's happened every other time he's walked out of my rounds.
I see him just like hang out in the hallway.
What?
Someone might go check.
Oh god. He once left before a decision and we had to wait for like 20 minutes for everyone to find him.
He's nowhere to be seen. Why can't Nigel leave before one of my speeches?
There's still hope for QAR.
Maybe he'll just never come back. Wait.
Nope, you You would think so, but
I
no.
would think so.
One of the judges is MIA. I don't know. It's gross. It's dogs.
Does anyone have his like number?
I think I actually do.
I think I have his number as well.
Skull.
I saw him on the other side of the building like 5 minutes ago.
Oh, found him. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Ready for you.
Oh.
What's the order?
Okay, order is going to be the overview, dunks stuff, the util
Good
framework, the turns, disad, AC.
So you're gonna have to repeat all of that.
Okay, the overview,
Yep.
Like the tricky stuff overview,
Yep.
the util framework, the turns, like the turn dump, the disad, and then the app. Okay, I'm ready when
Yeah.
you all are. You good now? Judges, ready? Is anyone not ready? Alright. Oh, Remo makes a big mistake. He said that I have no writing voters. The problem is that there were implicit voters in a lot of the spikes I read. I made arguments for why resolvability is an independent voter. I made arguments for why the judge has an obligation to make sure that the debate is successful. All these arguments function as voters. You cannot just say that I do not have a fairness to education voter while you are conceding a bunch of reasons why the judge has to care about things like resolvability. You take out your arguments about why rules do not matter. Also, now, quickly, now I'm going to respond to his argument about why rules do not matter. He cross-applied this in like 10 different places. Do not buy this argument because you say that universal norms are impossible. My theory is not a universal norm. When I'm making these arguments, I'm saying that what you have done specifically in this round is a bad thing. So there's no such thing as a universal norm or a universal rule. To the fact that you are talking means that you have conceded there are some universal rules. For example, like speech times, or like we should not start the round before Nigel gets back to the room. Things like that are universal rules. There's no way to determine what is universal or what is subjective. So the fact that my abuse is contextualized to this round should be sufficient for you to air negative on this issue. Now let's go to the overviews. I'll go to the humor card. Extend our arguments with absurd conclusions should be rejected. You say that there's no way for us to determine what an intuition is because everyone's identity is changing. No identity. You cannot just cross-apply that to respond to every argument that I make. Identity and intuitions are different things. Intuitions are not inherent to identity. I could not know who I am, but I would still have some conception of what it means to be a human being. Everyone has that one single term identity. So even if my specific identity changes, the fact that I'm a human being means that I have specific emotions. So you can extend the emotions argument that the intuitions argument takes out everything because there's no way we can have any sort of understanding of logic or rules. Also precludes the Derrida argument because the Derrida argument relies on logic. My argument is that intuitions come before logic because they justify the basis of logic. This is the reason why your Derrida argument goes away. Obviously, it is intuitive that we have some rules. The fact that we're speaking in this activity, the fact that I'm not killing them right now, the fact that I'm inviting my speech times, all these imply that there are certain rules that we are following. Now, you said it is very, very intuitive that certain rules don't exist. Also, a reason why you should not vote off presumption of permissibility. It's pretty unintuitive that there would be absolutely zero offense in the round. I mean, come on, do you really believe that? Now let's go to the bias overview. Extending resolvability standard coming out of you can see that resolvability extending clash standard. You have conceded that clash is really, really important because we only debate to debate you. That was embedded way in one of the standards. You can extend that these types of spikes are really, really bad because there's no way to respond to these cases. We're going to have lots of theory. And I made an argument if you want to see for why clash is really key because otherwise there is no point of debate. The only point of debating is debating. So if you are reducing clash, that is obviously an awful thing, independent of any fairness or education, independent of any fairness or education voter. That's a 8.8 reason for you why you should drop him. Well, that is a reason why he does not get asked for presumption because that is an argument that specifically helps the app. Now let's go to the util framework. Go to the first justification for utilitarianism. Extend the accessibility justification. Util is the least excluded. You can see the internal warrants in here, which means that if I can extend, which means that I definitely always all your justification stream the link. Extend that exclusion comes first. We have to maximize opportunities for people to join the activity. You have conceded this reason why the judges have to care about exclusion. Obviously, you have to make sure that people can participate in the activity. You don't have an activity at all. Even if fairness is not a voter, you have conceded the judge has an obligation to care about exclusion. That is the reason why even if util is difficult to use or near impossible to use, we should still use it. Also, your human arguments have been inherently bad. Obviously, we can use util. That is the intuition stuff really takes out of you because we have evaluated consequences in the past. We can continue to evaluate the consequences as well. Look, overview. He just says that fairness is not a voter. It does not matter. The util TJFs do not rely on fairness. They make an argument of exclusion. But even so, except these are evidence that util is the most intuitive. Now let's quickly go overview to your humor evidence. A-point is not intuitive. Obviously, we can evaluate concepts. I know that the sky was blue yesterday. B-point, the warrant and humor does not justify the claim that you are claiming that it justifies. This is not new in the two because I'm contesting the cross-application of humor. You say that the empirical institutions like they say are contingent. The problem is that even if we cannot know the grand scale of empirics, we can still know some empirics. This does not mean that all empirics are false, rather just that some empirics are false. But the fact that I'm winning, the fact that I'm going to be winning often through util is a reason why some empirics obviously apply to the AC also rests on empirics because you talk about how the law has empirically functioned, how the law cannot do anything empirically. All these are empirical arguments. All arguments argument, all the arguments inherently rely on some facts about the world. The fact that you make arguments about legal indeterminacy relies on some fact about the legal system, which that it is impossible to say that all empirical arguments go away. Now let's go to the turns. Big mistake. You have severely mishandled the terms. You just cross-apply a bunch of stuff. You can extend the Rosen argument that the police officers are different because they are public officials, that they have specific duties. You've also said that people sue the police officers more. That is a relevant distinction. Both of these are arguments that turn the AC burden. You have conceded that these cross-apply assessments apply. You cross-apply the Dared evidence, which says that the law is determined. Extend my response to the Dared evidence. That is obviously false. We've been able to validate the law in the past. You say that it's a philosophical argument. What the heck does that even mean? You never contextualize the difference between a philosophical argument and an empirical argument. The fact that you have been able to live out on certain instances also applies. Second, you have extend the argument that police officers can function outside the legal system. Even the legal system is indeterminate, they still have a duty outside the legal system to protect people. That's what they sign up for when they sign up to work with the government. Even if it's a silly argument, he has conceded. It functions as they concede turn to the AC burden. You can vote right there off the strength of link. Now let's go to the dissad. Extend the link story to the dissad. He just does impact work. Extend the impact of the link story. I have 100% strength of link there. Now let's go to the impact work. Your benefit evidence is absolutely awful. I did not read hedonism. I just said that we should maximize well-being. Obviously, everyone is dead and there is no possible well-being. You say that lives can be painful. I do not make an argument about pleasure or pain. That is not the AC standard. I'm just saying that we should maximize well-being. If everyone is dead, we cannot maximize well-being. Now let's go to the AC. Go to the agency offense. You say that I do not justify my practical identity. Whereas the problem is you have also conceded that you do not justify why other identity matters, which means that no one has justified why any kind of agency matters. Why any kind of agency matters. So that issue is a wash. Now you can just vote off of these turn to the legal indeterminacy argument. You can extend the turn to legal indeterminacy that police officers can function outside of the system. That there is some kind of difference. You do not go for the third argument. So look, overview to how the offense functions. Look at the offense that he extends. He extends the first subpoint, but he has conceded an argument that says that neither of us provide a warrant. Oh no, that layer is a lie. Now you can also vote off Dared evidence. He says that usual triggers presumption. The humor argument is just false. The fact that you've conceded that intuitions matter is a reason for why that is false.
What were the responses to Benatar? 1, not hedonistic. 2, pain is irrelevant.
And third, if we're dead, there's no well-being.
Alright. Wait, what was the first and second?
Not hedonistic. No one cares about pain. Like, pain doesn't matter. And no well-being if we're dead.
Frame, the order will be the extension of Anderson.
Then what?
The extension of Anderson, Derrida and Hume, presumption affirms, Benatar. Alright. Alright, wait 1 second. So, it'll be, let's see, what did I think again? Anderson, sorry, my flows are messed up. Anderson, and the offense, presumption affirms, in extending the offense, there will be the crossouts to the turns, and in extending the framing, there will be, like, responses to, like, humor and stuff, and then, the Benatar.
Mama, what flow do you want me to put on top of this?
What?
What's the name of the flow that you want to put on top?
Case.
Okay.
Alright. Is everyone ready? She's conceded the extension of Anderson, the cross application to the cross application of Anderson is that the context in which we understand objective norms like consequences, whether or not consequences are relevant, are always contingent to change. The implication of this argument is that you can never take an action under utilitarianism. Her extensions of the util frame are irrelevant because if you are proving, my argument is that if it is true, util is true, then you can never evaluate offense under it and whether or not the offense is true because the notion of a consequence is always subject to change. Even if you are extending theoretical justifications, my argument is an impact calc argument under util, i.e. Any notion of offense under consequentialism would fail, which means you'd affirm. The extension of Hume, all of her responses are new in the 2AR, i.e. there are reasons for why empiricism is true, but you still concede the actual warrant in you for why things such as the empirical conditions of the world are always subject to change, so we can never actually have legitimate contingency. You've also conceded the implication that this would also take out the other terms, and even if you think I'm winning, even if you think she's winning offense under the burden, she conceded the cross application of the SAN 13 evidence that says specifically empirically police officers should not have qualified immunity because it gives them unique leverage over others, which means it's definitely certainly non-unique. So the terms that you go for, then extend Semesky, there are identities called identity. Actually, no, I'm not going to go for Semesky. I'm going to go for the truth testing justifications. You say that I can't go for presumption, but if you are conceding that truth testing is true framing, then the only way you can actually vote off of is the presumption of affirms argument. You can see the cross application of Fried with saying that any comparison to worlds or any comparison to things like intuitions, which your extension of humor is based on, must necessitate some notion of compared to worlds. Which means if I prove that there's absolutely no way for you to define an obligation in this run, then that means you would affirm. You can see the reasons with justifications why presumption. You can see the justifications why presumption affirms. Now the NC frame. First, there the humor stuff. You extend humor for why intuition is better. But the framing you should evaluate with this offense is under a framing of truth testing. I.e., if she does not win arguments for why the resolution is true, then that would be sufficient link back to the humor evidence because that is something that is proven intuitively true under the flow. You should vote off the flow. You should not vote off this argument because it says that you should default to some idea of intuitions when she does not contextualize what that even means in the first place. This argument should have absolute zero weight in your decision. The last argument I'm going to go for is Benatar and the cross application of Hume. She cannot extend why util is true to respond to Hume because my argument is indicative of whether or not util is actually something that can be practiced something that can be practiced in the first place. This is a major framing issue for why you cannot evaluate that offense. The last piece of offense I'll extend, even if she wins every single argument she goes for, she's heavily undercutting Benatar. Extend Benatar saying that whenever we live in the world, there's always a potentiality of infinite suffering. She makes an argument saying that her wrath is not specific to hedonism, but then she then makes an argument saying that extinction is worse because there's no possibility of well-being in the world of extinction. But that presupposes that there's an understanding of what well-being is, i.e. the possibility for us to feel pleasure in the first place, which Benatar specifically indicts. Also, your standard text is specific to maximizing well-being, which takes out the first and second argument because you have to be specific to pain because the only reason you are justified in maximizing life is so that people can feel pleasure. Benatar says that under extinction is the maximal notion of pleasure.
Good round.